Now, did you place our astronauts here?
I did.
Because you know that I rented Mickey 17.
I didn't.
And I'm watching that and I need to finish it today. I started that this morning.
There we go.
Have you seen that?
No, I have no idea what that is.
I just started the first 15 minutes and it's all about, seemingly cloning yourself and then people exploring different, death issues.
Okay.
I'm 10 minutes in, so I don't really know yet.
Okay,
so we'll figure it out, but it looked really cool. But what did you want to talk about?
We did creativity last time, and it started me off thinking about what does it actually mean in 2025, creativity. We talked a bit about innovation, and I had
the book, I'm sorry, not the book, the movie is creative.
Okay.
See, that's already a good link in.
I had an interesting chat on LinkedIn recently with a friend of mine, Kai Turner, who's doing a lot of work with videos and AI-generated videos. It's really smart, some of the stuff he's doing, but we're talking about what happens to creativity when AI engines blow up and you get so many ideas? Do we lose the sense of value in those? Where do you go with that when everything is possible? Does everything lose meaning at the same time?
This is something that's been a theme that we've been talking about for months, is when you can produce infinite output, the direction, the taste, the whole like Rick Rubin concept is what becomes valuable. The ability to say, I have millions of versions of something, but what is the right one that connects with people? If I go even further back, I cannot remember how many years ago it was, but this brilliant friend of mine, Andreas Markdalen, who is now, I think, the chief creative officer at Frog, spotted this before I heard anybody else talk about it. He gave a talk at IXDA, and again, I don't remember when it was, maybe 5 years ago, but he had already started seeing this trend of AI can start to produce infinite output, and what is our job as designers in the infinite output world. And it did come down to direction, taste, selection, these types of things. But I'm curious, you started on that, but where did you want to take it?
So I don't really have a destination. I can tell you where I am with it.
Where are you with it?
I thought this through a little bit, and I largely came down to the obvious conclusion that really beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and that I think one of our jobs as experienced designers, as people who try to appeal to a mass of people in terms of delightful interfaces, in terms of beautiful interfaces that solve a job in the most efficient way, we're just trying to target as many people in our target audience as possible. So actually, the right answer is the right answer for that group. And when you create an idea, if it's valuable to you, then it's valuable. If it's valuable to everybody else, great. But the point is it's valuable to you.
It's funny. It's how I view these podcasts, because people will talk to me and say, I can help you produce it. I can help you write a script. I can help you do the thumbnails for the clip art. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, these started out as coffee conversations. Yeah. And we were just like, hey, we should record these. If they're valuable to anybody else, complete bonus. And I still stand by that. These are for me first to have great conversations with you. And if other people like them, I'm just happy enough to have that.
Do you know, part of the problem is we start talking before we start recording, and we carry on after we stop recording, and these just morph into a conversation, which is...
the actual podcast itself is just... like a joined in progress selection of a much longer talk that we have had before and after. It's interesting to think of it that way. With the infinite output, I'm going to go in a few different directions here, and then we can figure out where to take it. The first is, yes, with infinite output, you need that idea of taste and direction and selection. The second idea is what you said, which is, I have infinite output, but that's great because I can select the output that matches the individual.
Yes.
So it is more like the marketing strategy. I can target, it's hyper-personalization, all of that. So one of them is selection by an individual that will hopefully connect with a mass based on that individual's taste. The other is I have a set of data for which I can drive a particular solution in this hyper-personalized world.
Yeah.
Now I need to remember where I was going to take the third direction.
You're sparking loads of threads on me as well.
I remember now. Okay. The third is infinite output is okay. And I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It goes back to the photography thing we had, that people now will take thousands and thousands of photos. And so you have infinite output of photos, and then you select and curate the best ones for yourself or for an outward image or for whatever the destination.
The purpose,
the purpose. Thank you. And so I don't think infinite output is
really interesting
bad
analogy. Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form. It's just, are you a tastemaker? Are you a marketer? Are you a person looking to select for a specific purpose or output? There you go.
That's a great answer. So what you made me think of, I'm not sure it's going to help advance this anymore, but what you made me think of is that question of taste. I have quite a lot of trouble buying art sometimes, and I've spent very small amounts of money on art. I've spent, for me, a reasonable amount of money, a few £1,000s worth of art in a picture, and I look at it and I look at the pictures I spent more money on, and I love them. That's why I bought them. And I've got really cheap artwork that I love as well, depending on where I bought it from. And I always wonder, the value is in what you place on it. So obviously the stuff I spent more on, I put more value on, but actually I like some of the cheaper ones as well. So where I'm going with this is that it reminds me of wine and whiskey. And I got really heavily into whiskey a few years ago. I don't drink anymore, but I got into whiskey. I've got a terrible memory. I couldn't do wine because there's so many vineyards in France. It's really hard to learn them. But whiskey, there's only 50 distilleries in Scotland. So it's quite easy to learn the characters of each one. And you start to become an expert in it quite quickly. But what I found is the more you drink, like coffee, I'm drinking this rubbish again today. Sorry, this sponsored by Starbucks. I started to realize that the more you drink, the more refined your palate gets. And the more you start to prefer better coffee, better whiskey, better wine. But am I actually enjoying the experience anymore, having spent and invested time in it, than when I just had a few coffees now and again, a few whiskeys, and I enjoyed that just as much? Is the same true with art, and is the same true with the refined digital output? Is your taste better than mine? Probably, because this is what you've trained in. But does the end experience matter?
I'm going to pull this apart in so many directions. Okay, first with the art. I'm not sure, I don't agree or disagree, but here's one thing about high-end art versus, I don't know, maybe lower-end art. And there's sort of two vertices I'm looking at, which is popularity of the artist, right?
Yeah, I'm not that rich.
Yeah, but the other one is the replication of art. So is it a print, which is infinite output, or is it an actual painting that you know there's only one of?
Oh, that's a great thing.
And so I think art, to me, still has that same infinite output problem.
Yes.
Do I have one of the original, what is it, like King James Bibles that were copied by hand?
Yeah.
Or do I just have a printed Bible? And so the whole thing with AI or digital duplication right now.
But that's content versus media. That's a whole new thread.
Are we just having the same argument as the printing press? It's, oh, you can copy all of this information, so therefore it makes it worthless. But we, with art, assign value to it based, as you said, my personal preference, the notoriety of the artist, the ability to obtain the art itself. So it's, are we just going down the same routes and the same discussions, and we just don't know what our vertices are for value in this world? And if we don't know the vertices for value, then we're just going to spin on this argument until we figure that out. It's the same thing when I go back to something we've talked about for the last months of this, which is with UX designers, we have completely new rules that you need to look at when building interfaces, because you have all this data. You have, as you said, infinite output. You can generate interfaces now, so the input becomes more important than the output. We tend to look at these three individual screens, the mobile, the desktop, the tablet. We have these new rules, but nobody really knows what the new rules are yet. We're figuring that out. So while we're doing that, we're just spinning in this conversation. So is this like we just don't know the vertices to attach value to in this new world, and therefore we're just like spinning on the conversation?
So here's a thought. Is it down to the story we put behind it? Either the story that I tell you through art or through a book or through a digital output that I want you to engage with, a story that I give to you and you decide how much you engage with it? Is it a story you tell yourself around what you perceive in it and things like abstract art? Maybe the story and the journey that gets to the end product which you're looking at is more valuable. And that story could be a brand principle, brand values.
I'm going to tie this back to, I love this because it is tying back to so many of our conversations over now episodes 1 through 10, since we've started figuring this out, episode 11 now. This whole idea that in an agent-based world, agents care about data and information and high bandwidth, and humans still care about story and emotional connection. And in that case, the infinite output is absolutely fine. That will go off and be this agent world, agent layer. We will still care about things that are seemingly difficult to get. And that could be an NFT, that could be some sort of cryptocurrency token. It could be digitally hard to get. I still think scarcity is going to bring value. And that's just like a status rule.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. I think we touched on agents, and it's something I've been thinking about a bit recently about. There's loads of talk around agents and lots of talk about what they can do and how they can automate end-to-end processes. And I don't engage very much with agents, if I'm honest. Get the concept, I like the idea, and I can see certain commercial applications where they make sense. But when I start to break down my own experience and where an agent might add value to me, I hit a few stumbling blocks, and I'd really be interested in yours and other people's opinions on this. So I'll give you an example. The stuff that I'm building at the moment, we would look at the podcast is a great example. So I was looking at how could we, in theory, take the video output from this podcast, push it to social media and various other things. There's a number of steps in the way that are manual at the moment. So I'm thinking maybe an agent would do all of it for me. Why not? The reason why I wouldn't just press that button and see it turn up on LinkedIn is because there's a number of steps that I actively want to keep control of in the way. So things like the text that's generated for the post, I let AI start it, but I never take. I was always edited quite heavily before I post it live. Otherwise, it will say horrible things like very obsequious things, which I can't stand.
So that right there is the issue. It is not that you want control. It is that you don't trust it.
Yes, and exactly. That was one of my questions is what does it mean for trust with AI? But it's also, I enjoy the process. And we've had a couple of conversations previously. I think you've said it previously, is that when we use AI, the danger is that we let AI do the fun things. We've got this democratization, so now everything is possible to a much bigger group of people. But there's a lot of concern out there saying, are we automating our artwork and leaving us with the horrible jobs that we don't want to do? I think there is joy and entertainment in some of this process. So we want to take away the dull bits, but keep the fun bits. Like I like looking at the text that we use to post on Spotify, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and making sure that they accurately frame what we're doing in a tone that suits me. And I haven't managed to get the AI yet to give me something that matches.
But do you like that because of the activity itself, or
Probably.
do you like it because you don't trust these? Here's where I'm getting at this. What you just described, that ability to automate posting of podcast videos to LinkedIn, that to me sounds like something, knowing you, that is boring and you don't trust the process. Where I see you get excited is when you go into Cursor and you have to figure out a bug because there's a challenge or a problem there.
Yeah.
And I think those two are separate things. One of them to me says, you're doing this because you don't trust the system and you're forcing yourself to say, oh, this is interesting or fun or creative because I can write something, versus what you really like, which is I want to figure out something or I have a real challenge in front of me. That doesn't sound like a challenge, posting LinkedIn videos, but going in and debugging code in Cursor sounds like a challenge.
I think you might be right. I do it because I can. I think that's definitely part of it, is that I can see a way that we could do this, so I try it. But I think the journey is interesting because I found the bits that I actively put stop points in. So my stop point was I'll generate a screen full of all the text contents, and then I'll never just click publish, and I'd never let it go all the way through to publish. I then do tweak it. So I'm finding the bits that I enjoy are the conversations of actually creating it, a little bit around the video editing, a little bit around the tweaking of content to post. So there are points in it which I think you can automate, and there are points which you want to keep.
Again, going back to episodes 1 through 10, where I'm going to tie something together. We talked about this whole idea that people will say, oh, I've been 25 years in this field. And that's almost a detriment now because you've hardened the way that you look at things.
That means you're old as well, and this industry hates old people.
Yes, it honestly does. And so you get to the situation where you have all the pathways figured out. As when I think, if for our 2 listeners out there, that I've been doing Muay Thai, and what has really started to break my head as an adult in the last few years is how much I both don't like starting something, but I know I eventually will like it over time.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel this is one of those things that holds adults back. Let's say past 30, is that trying new things and thinking to yourself, I have to look stupid for the next year.
I hate being bad at things. I hate being bad at things.
And because of that, I feel like this is where we fall down in the face of AI. We don't want to try new things, but also this is where AI or AI tools is going to make us worse. We will want everything quicker.
Yes.
And because of that, we will not take the time to say that whatever we need to learn or do actually will take a number of years. And I think I'll tie this back into both of us hit the gym regularly, work out a lot. It takes years to achieve what you want in the gym.
Yeah.
But I think both of us know from watching TikTok, there's this whole idea that you can work out for 2 months and you're going to look like a bodybuilder. And I see the same thing happening in tech.
That's been a sad realization. Really
yes, yeah. And you see the same thing in tech where people won't want to go through the process to get there. And I think that's one of the things that when I look at AI tools and driving AI competency across Sapient, which is one of the big things that I'm responsible for, is how do we bring learning and development? How do we bring tools across all of the experience capability that we have at Sapient, over 1,000 people? And I'm watching people struggle with this.
Yeah.
And I'm watching with people, I don't want to say they're not embracing it, but I think it is a struggle to learn it. And then I go on YouTube and I'll watch people who are in their late teens or early 20s making all these videos showing off all these great tools. And I'm thinking, what's the breakdown? I'm like, is it really age? Maybe the tech industry isn't ageist. Maybe it is just people get stuck in their ways and that makes them less pliable to other solutions.
I really liked what you were doing. I liked the theory. I didn't like the practice.
You didn't like the part where it said we're old and we're obsolete.
I liked what you did last week with your, was it midnight till noon was the plan? Working session.
Yes.
Because that's a habit that I think is really powerful to start creating these really deep collaborative working sessions. I think that might be something that you get used to. You said this, you get used to in your sort of student days. It's something you do. You work hard with a bunch of people at maybe crazy hours for long periods, and you fall out of that practice as you get older, as you get a family, and you say, well, certainly I feel like I've got to spend time with the kids, we've got to eat together, we've got other commitments, so it's harder to do something like that. And as you say, as you get older, you start to get a bit more rigid about what you do and what you don't do. So what I quite like at Wong Doody at the moment is that we've got these really strong pockets of AI capability that are doing some amazing things. I'll be reading something crazy online and find out, oh, we already do that and we're quite advanced in it. I'm like, great, how do I get engaged with it? What I'm trying to find is how do we join those pieces up more consistently across the organization, because they're great. We need to leverage them more so we're not always going to a center of excellence. This needs to be pervasive through the organization, and we'll get there, but it's going to take some time.
My goal is every Friday to do that long working session. I don't think it's midnight to noon because I don't want to sacrifice that much of my sleep.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be 2 a.m. to maybe 8 or 9 a.m.
Yeah. Okay.
And so 6 hours.
Slightly less horrific.
It's not 12 hours, it's 6 hours.
And maybe I could do that.
What I have found in the last 2 weeks of doing that is having the uninterrupted time has allowed me to soak in more. So when I go out, I go to a specific place, Pete's Coffee, around Dubai Marina. They're open 24 hours. And there's a few of the people who are there, and they are working late. So they work until 4 or 5 a.m. and then they go to sleep. So I'll have a bit of an overlap. One guy has been there now both times that I've done this, and he has been helping me. This is sort of cool. He's been helping me learn how he does his whole chain of automated AI posting. So how he uses, he still uses ChatGPT to generate a script.
Yeah.
He then brings that to 11 Labs, which does his voice.
Okay.
He takes that to
So what does it do with his voice?
11 Labs will allow you to take a script
And read
and
it.
then it reads it in your voice.
Oh, my life. Okay.
And then he takes that to HeyGen for the avatar, for his avatar. HeyGen will do the voice, but he said he likes it better for 11 Labs, that they do a better job of replicating his style. HeyGen will then do the avatar. And then I forget the last step. He doesn't post to LinkedIn. I think he posts to TikTok.
Okay.
And he's an interior designer. he automates all of this with N8N.io, I believe. So I was looking that up in terms of, okay, so you have your agent. And
we're going to have to do an episode like this.
I know you hook it to all your APIs. But the thing is, if I had never been doing these sessions, I would have never, number one, learned. I've heard of these tools, but I would have never learned the chaining of all of these tools.
Yeah.
I would have never learned how he approaches it and why he does these things. And I do need just that conversational, uninterrupted time to talk to somebody. At work, you don't get more than 30 minutes, maybe, to talk to somebody, to have a conversation before I'm whisked away to another meeting. So yeah, I think these sessions actually do really help in furthering the process.
So here's the thought, and I'll take it back to what you just said earlier, is that I am really intrigued by the idea of doing that. And I think we will do an episode like this because that's a problem, something I'd like to engage with, get done. I'm sure you'd like to do as well. Would we
the chaining? Or
would we do it twice? I bet we don't. I bet we do it once to see how it works. I bet the output is very mediocre, but let's see.
I've seen the AI avatars from HeyGen. You can tell they're AI.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But yeah, I'm okay with that. I think it's more of, I'm interested in automating it once or twice a week to try, let's say, to share different insights. Like I was thinking to myself, okay, in the morning I take a walk. I usually will jot down specific
you can't
notes.
automate that.
Yeah, no, the idea was that as I'm walking, I'll have these thoughts.
Right.
And it would be nice almost to have a daily thought to share. Post something on LinkedIn. Not everything needs to be a video like this.
Yeah.
And not everything actually needs to be a realistic avatar either. But are there ways to share just little nice thoughts? And the way that I've seen people do this before is they take screenshots of their tweets and then they'll post it on LinkedIn. So it's a very quick just thought of the day. And I always love those because I jump on LinkedIn and Instagram before I get my day moving and catch up on a few things. But that's where I like this idea of how do you automate that? Where I don't like it is the idea that we are going to be, before we know it, 50 layers of shit deep in AI automated crap that is going to be all over the web.
It was already there.
Yeah. And everybody, sadly, a lot of people that I meet around here are selling courses or selling whatever. You know, it's like,
do you know, that was the realization yesterday of doing the automated LinkedIn post. If you check me on LinkedIn, you'll see there's a post there. It says, if you can read this, then...
I liked it right before I came up here.
There we go. I realized that took me 3 hours from start to finish to get to a point where I can take a video, turn it to an MP3, generate a post, and then put it to LinkedIn. Now, that post was handwritten. I just posted it to show that it was posted because I didn't want to actually take an AI output from the video this time. But I realized through that I could, in theory, just churn out LinkedIn posts and just have it posting and posting. I would never do that because it bores me, and I don't see the point. But if I can do that in 3 hours, how many other millions of people are doing the same thing?
Let's go back to how we started. Art.
Yeah.
With Twitter, with Instagram, with LinkedIn, you have verified accounts, and verified means that you're a real person.
Yep.
Are we going to start seeing verified posts? That this post somehow was written by a person. So there is a level of authenticity.
This is a gray tick or something.
Something there. And like, it's the same way that I forget who is doing this. I thought there were some stores or somebody that was like posting photos that were unedited, right? But something where...
I've seen it in board games. Board game designers have a thing, this was created with AI or this wasn't created. There's a big push on that at the moment.
Something where... And you've said this,
Cannes,
it was like episode 2 or 3.
Cannes just put it. They just dropped somebody from Cannes because their work was created. I can't remember who it was. Their work was created with AI, and Cannes is all about it has to be.
I don't know. I hadn't heard that, but I go back to your episode 2 or 3 where you were talking about that human element that's in there, right? Is there that level of value within that creativity, and we will crave. I think this is what it was. Is that like we will crave that human to human interaction. I had this interesting idea that seems evil in a way.
Surely not.
Yeah, because everyone gets excited about how bots are going to take over customer service.
Yeah.
Now we automate customer service. And I was starting to think, is this where like loyalty programs are going for, let's say, airlines?
Yeah.
So on KLM Delta and now on Emirates, I have high enough status that I have a special phone number that you can call that pretty much you don't have to go through the stupid phone systems, right?
Yeah.
It gets you to a person quicker.
Yeah. Okay.
So what happens when people who have less status have to only deal with bots and people with higher status, meaning more socioeconomic status or fame or whatever, deal with people?
That's very dystopian.
So it's like yes, it is this dystopian new caste system that arrives that if you don't have enough money, you're in bot land, buddy. But if you can pay for it, welcome to the world of human connection.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a point now where you talked about having verification on LinkedIn social media posting where it's a person posting, not a bot. When's the point going to come when we start to actively choose to start following agents and bots because we like their content, because they feel like they're adding value to our lives?
It's already happening, right? You have VTubers, which virtual YouTubers.
Yeah.
So people who are actual people, but they control sort of this animatronic. One of my favorites is Code Miko, who has been doing this for like years and years. But
you go to some very weird rabbit holes on the internet.
You are starting to see AI influencers.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that this to me, it's going to ramp up. Yeah. So you're going to have entire teams behind AI influencers. So instead of teams behind like BTS and K-pop, you're going to have teams behind AI influencers that will be figuring out how to make AI connect with people through story. But again, I don't know if that's anything better than buy something.
Gorillas, the band was basically a very early incarnation
deep
of that.
Cut.
Yeah,
Man, that was a cool one.
And that's exactly what they're doing, create a virtual band and engage, have a team behind it, and it worked. What I find, to link this is a nice tie-in, another arc to tie-in, that if we go back to that idea of infinite possibilities and creativity, what I started to get worried about as I thought through that was that the challenge we've got with these easy answers that we're pursuing at the moment by lots of high volume creative that we struggle to discern between. By doing that, there's an interesting neuroscience aspect to it because we get these spikes in our dopamine, which overall reduces our dopamine to lower levels, and we become more desensitized to sensing value. So we find it hard to distinguish high value ideas from low value. So everything becomes a bit meh, don't really care, because of our dopamine levels, which we are reinforcing by continuing to engage with social, continuing to engage with AI creativity, to the point we might train ourselves as a society that we aren't capable of picking up value, and we need to rely on AI to generate these lateral connections, which we're so good at now.
Aren't we already told what is valuable, right? Like, how many people that feel like they live a life where value is totally discerned by them and not marketing pointed at them? I would love to say that maybe I live on a mattress on the floor like a monk, but in terms of this sort of Buddhist, no attachments type of thing, no, I'm super susceptible to marketing. I want the Calvin Klein body. I want the good set of jeans, right? I want to look like this, eat food like this. So I think we're constantly being told what value is. And then there's a whole industry, and you know this very well, that is all about taking back our life. Yeah. I think we're just going to see more and more of that. So it's going to ramp up. It's going to get worse. The books, Stolen Focus and Anxious Generation. We're going to see more people who are anxious and inability to control dopamine or oxytocin because you'll lose the touch of individuals. And so you'll see more and more people that will lower down into this depression.
Yeah, and it's reinforcing as well. I think you actually have to take steps out of it. I don't claim anything special in this, but I enjoy learning. And because I enjoy learning, I learn more and I do more of that. So it's a bit like going to the gym. It's hard to build a habit to go to the gym, but it's like a muscle in your brain. Once you get used to that pain and that push, that persistence, it gets easier over time. It's the same with learning.
Friction builds growth.
Yeah.
That back to earlier episodes. Friction builds growth. Most people, and this is my hypothesis that you've heard before, is convenience is greater than anything else. And I think that is your summary, whether that's of AI or marketing, is that whether you want to say friction is happiness, because at some point you do need like a level of friction in order to be appreciative of the calm.
Yes.
But then if people are just always after convenience to the max, as you said, it's just, I don't know if it's burns out your dopamine, but if all you ever get is convenience and you are so uncomfortable with anything else, then pretty much you're no longer in control of your life at that point, right? You are just on the wheel of convenience and you need people to hand that to you.
I find it now when I'm using ChatGPT, it's become such a habit of how I work now. If I sit down with a blank screen and don't let myself use an AI, it's much harder now to get started. That blank page start point is really tough. I can do it, but it's a lot more convenient to say, I'll just bung my initial thoughts into an LLM. It'll give me the next round, and then it sparks off lots of things. I don't let it do the work for me, but to get me moving, that momentum you gain from having this partner, this bot next to you, which will just take your ideas, chew them up, spit them out in completely wrong ways, makes your brain work. But you get used to working like that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what that means for creativity at large, because you've always talked about this idea that like you combine different ideas to get new ideas, or if we're always reliant on having something that we can throw an idea to and get something back. I'm trying to figure out how to frame this, but it is our inability to sit with ourselves and embrace quiet for a moment that will probably destroy our ability to generate great ideas, right? Like you talk to so many creative people, or someone, whether that is strategic thinkers or creative thinkers, one of the things that you are going to hear damn near consistent is time to think, is time for quiet. And if we're always chasing that convenience and that dopamine and that sort of give me something, and we're unable to sit with ourselves, I think that's where you start to bifurcate and see difference, where you have a few people who are going to be way out in front, controlling all the taste and controlling all this. And then you have everybody else that is just subservient to convenience. And then the thing is, everybody on that lower side is going to be complaining, right? This is the Jeff Bezos thing. You gave us too much convenience. You're a horrible person. Yeah, all of you are literally shopping on Amazon. Like, you
can stop anytime you want.
Yeah, you put yourself into this situation and then you're complaining about it. It's that classic meme that you see on the internet where the guy's riding the bike and then sticks the stick in the wheel and falls off and just blames everybody else. You're like, yeah, we can stop everything now. We can, whether you want to say get off social media, yes, there is a level of technology that we have to use to be a functioning member of society. But for the most part, it's a lot less than I think everybody thinks.
Yeah. I like that time to think. That's a great thought to ponder on. I can tell you how I know I've got issues though, because I'm immediately thinking, how do I build something which encourages us to take the time to think and prompt it a little bit? I need to stop and just step away from the screen.
How do you build a timer? There's already those timers. But it's so many of the books that I read now on how do you generate better ideas, or how, like, just literally, how are you a happier person?
Yeah.
And almost all of it is the basics of living. Get good sleep. Don't check your phone when you wake up. Don't use your phone an hour before sleep, right? All these things that we know are basics and that we can't seem to tear ourselves away from. But for everybody who I have talked to that leads a life like that, they seem to be doing better on the whole.
Yeah.
And in the book Creativity Inc. by the Pixar, was it Ed No, I cannot remember his last name at the moment. He talks every year that he does the 10-day silent retreat, and everybody should do this every year. I am terrified to do it, but I definitely want to do it once in my life. The people I have talked to who have done it have said it is life-changing, because you literally, like, the first few days, you are miserable. I've had friends tell me how they have broken down crying because they're like losing their shit because they just can't, like, in a world of endless stimulation, what happens when everything is quiet? But then by the end of it, the ability to just
be,
that's it. You said it.
Yeah. I am also scared. I'm intrigued by the idea and terrified by it at the same time. I can't go more than 5 minutes without my phone. I'm interested to see how that would work out.
Yeah, because you do watch Rick and Morty on the treadmill.
I do.
Okay.
It's about the only TV I watch at the moment.
It's interesting. When I take my morning walks, I listen to an audiobook, and I don't exactly know how my brain works, but I feel it's like at like process 1 and process 2, I'll be listening to the audiobook, but my brain in the background will be spitting up like ideas.
Yeah.
And at points, if the ideas like start to bubble up too much, I'll switch the audiobook for music. And then I'll let the other ideas come in. And it's, I don't know if it's like a chemistry process or like it's sort of like yoga where you're always trying to settle into the move and you're always just feeling out the ability of what works. But if I do not get my morning walk in, I tend to be really frustrated.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel there is something satisfying about the time, whether that is just having an hour to listen to a book consistently, an hour to reflect on an idea, or just an hour to put on some chill music and walk. But that is for me the way that at least I've taken back some of my life. And I try to do different things every day, whether it's gym, whether it's Muay Thai, but there's definitely these things where I'm trying to live life outside of technology that I'm not sure I would have told you this before, but I read all these books like The Dose Effect and The Molecule of More and all this dopamine.
Okay.
Molecule of More was really good. And I was like, okay, let me try these things. If you had told me that I would have been happier now doing these things with less technology, I don't know if I would have believed you.
Yeah, okay.
But now that I am able to, I think when I work, I am better. I have better ideas. I can reflect better. I am a better person. I'm a better coach at work. And it is funny because it's all the things that you read from people, very successful people, right? Like all these biographies from great businessmen, great business people. God, I shouldn't gender businessmen, men and women. But I think that ability to just take back your life, so many people maybe don't believe it or just really struggle with it. And I found it to be nothing but positive.
Yeah. I tell you what I've noticed recently is that I am really enjoying the fact that I do not have enough hours in the day. I find that life is just absolutely packed and I'm choosing things that I want to spend my time on. So work I love because I love problem solving, and work is literally 12 hours a day, problem solving one after another at a frantic pace, which exhausts me, but they're amazing challenges to have. I'm lucky to be able to engage with them. But then what I do with my spare time is other little projects that I could do 3 times as much time on this and still be engaged, and I don't have enough time, and I love it.
I have to agree. And what you just said captures so much of, I think, why I'm happy now. I wake up genuinely excited to do something. And maybe that is my Muay Thai lesson for the day. Maybe that is to walk and finish more of my
audiobook. It doesn't have to be meaningful. It is meaningful. But
meaningful for the person. And,
epic.
and
epic.
A walk in the quiet can be meaningful.
Yes.
But I think that is such a great way of putting, like, how do you enjoy living life? And I was thinking this morning I made shakshuka. I sent you a photo of it. And what makes me excited now that I'm trying to learn more about cooking is like, I only get 2 or 3 meals a day to cook. Okay, what can I do tomorrow? What should I do for these meals, right? And I get excited to do these things. And I'm watching the time and we need to wrap up. So I'm going to wrap up this way. Cool. And then I'm going to see where you want to take it for your wrap up side. I just finished this book, Diaspora, by Greg Egan, I believe.
One as well,
yeah. It is an amazing science fiction book, like on the idea of post-human world, on AI. It is probably the most unique book on a post-human world I might have ever read. It is fantastic. Towards the end of the book, it has this idea of death. And it is not that death is a bad thing, but it is death is completion. Because this character is talking about, I'm okay to die now. They're like, but why? I explored everything I wanted to. And it's taken me thousands of years. I explored all this. I'm okay now. I'm complete. And it just felt like such a beautiful way to think of death. And if I think of my life and what do I want to accomplish, right? When I'm in, hopefully I live to my 80s or my 90s or my 120s or something, that I can say that there is some level of completeness to my life. And I think that would be a beautiful way to look at the longer arc of life. But that's where I'll wrap up. What do you?
I'm not going to build too much on that. I completely agree. I think the story of your life is whatever you make it. So finding stories to tell, stories to have, I think that's an amazing drive to have. And if you get to the end and say, I've got all these things that I did, well, then I think you've won.
You have all of that with AI and that infinite output, but it is still the story that remains and connects. Sir, I will talk to you next week.
Sounds good.